Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Parashat HaShavua class. This week, we are studying Parashat Teruma, and I want to share with you a wonderful idea that I read this morning that I think can really impart to us some great lessons and great um, ways of looking at tzedakah. You know, I remember a story once that took place in our school. It was a story that was really amazing and remarkable. And when you hear it, you think it can't possibly be true, but it's true. And it really reveals one of the most beautiful and surprising principles of all of all Torah. There was a student in the school that was walking past a garbage, and he saw something by the garbage, and there, lying next to the garbage, was a $20 bill, $20. He picked it up, looked around. No one was nearby. No one seemed to have dropped the money. And he came to me with the money and said, Rabbi, I found $20 near the garbage. What do I do with it? What's the law? So the truth is, we actually learned this in grade 8 Gemara, Elu Metziot. And in fact, it's a explicit Mishnah in Bava Metzia that says, Matzah ma'ot mefuzarot hareu shelo. If somebody finds scattered coins, then it belongs to him. He gets to keep it. So I told him, you earned this money. According to halacha, it's yours. But then I said something that made him stop and think. And I said, do you realize what a zechut the person who lost the money just received? Do you know what a tremendous gift that was just given to him without them even knowing it? So the student looked at me puzzled. He said, Rabbi, I don't get it. They lost the money. I found it. How's that a zechut? How's that a merit to the person who lost the money? With that, I want to begin the shiur, because the answer to this question, the Torah's teaching about money that falls from your pocket, will transform the way you think about tzedakah, about divine providence, and about every dollar that passes through your hands. Before we can understand the unique nature of tzedakah, we need to establish a fundamental principle in Jewish law. Do mitzvot require kavanah? Do they require intention? So Shulchan Aruch teaches that mitzvot do require kavanah. That means that if a person performs a mitzvah without intending to fulfill their obligation, they haven't fulfilled it. The action alone of just reading words of Shema, that doesn't fulfill the mitzvah of Shema. There has to be kavanah. There has to be intent. However, this is very important, the rabbis made an important distinction. The Mishnah Berurah explains that for mitzvot that involve a physical action, such as putting on tefillin, even if the person didn't have kavanah, b'di'avad, after the fact, they fulfilled their obligation. Why? Because the action itself proves that they're doing it for the sake of the mitzvah. Think about that for a moment. If someone is wrapping leather straps around their arm and head, why would they be doing that? Obviously, it's for the mitzvah of tefillin. The very nature of the action demonstrates intent. But this is where it gets interesting. The poskim give us an example of where this doesn't apply. Imagine it's Sukkot, and the sun is beating down intensely. A person sits in the sukkah, not to fulfill the mitzvah, but simply to get out of the sun. There's shade. In fact, the whole definition of sukkah is that there needs to be more shade than sun. So even though they perform the action of sitting in the sukkah, if they didn't have the kavanah to fulfill the mitzvah, they haven't fulfilled their obligation. Why? Because the action itself doesn't prove anything in this case. People sit in the shade for all different kinds of reasons. So we have a general rule. Mitzvot require kavanah. For some mitzvot, the action itself proves intent. So even without explicit kavanah, one fulfills a mitzvah b'di'eved, like tefillin. And for other mitzvot, without kavanah, even the physical action isn't enough. What about tzedakah, giving charity? Concept of donating money to the construction of the Bet HaMikdash. Tzedakah is totally different. And that difference is something that is revolutionary that we have to explain. Before we get to the unique nature of tzedakah, we need to understand an important precedent, one that makes tzedakah's exception even more remarkable. When Hashem commanded the Jewish people to bring donations, the language we just quoted, ve'ikhu li teruma, and they shall make for me a donation. Ve'ikhu li. And Rashi here focused on one word, li, for me. And he says, what does it mean, Veichuli? Li lishmi, for my sake. In other words, the donation to the Mishkan had to be given with explicit kavanah. It had to be given l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. So according to Rashi, the teruma for the Mishkan required kavanah, required intent. Now this makes sense. The Mishkan was the dwelling place for the Shekhinah. It was a place where Hashem's presence would rest among the Jewish people. And such a holy purpose demanded that every contribution, that every act of giving had to be given with the proper intent, with full awareness of what was being accomplished. Okay, very nice. What about regular tzedakah? Everyday charity you give to the poor. People come to the Bet Knesset all the time collecting money for their yeshivas, for their families, for orphans, widows. Does that also require giving with kavanah or exacting kavanah, or is it different somehow? There's a story brought down among Chachamim that seems very simple on the surface, but really contains depths upon depths. The Midrash in Sefer Vayikra Rabbah tells us an extraordinary story about Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Tarfon came to Rabbi Akiva with a proposal. He says, listen, I have a substantial sum of money. Let's do business. Let's go into business. We'll invest in a profitable venture. And this way we can both engage in Torah study while also learning a livelihood. We have parnasah, side income, a side hustle. Rabbi Akiva agreed. He took Rabbi Tarfon's money and he went to do business with it. Though Rabbi Tarfon didn't know exactly what kind of business Rabbi Akiva had in mind. And from time to time, Rabbi Tarfon would inquire from Rabbi Akiva, so, no, how's the business going? Is it profitable? And Rabbi Akiva would always respond positively, yeah, it's going very well. Years passed. Eventually, Rabbi Tarfon said to Rabbi Akiva, listen, I'd like to see this business we built. It's been 10 years, 15 years. Where? Show me the building. Show me, the manufacturing, something. Show me. Where's it located? So Rabbi Akiva said, come. I'll show you. So they walked together until they arrived at the Bet Midrash, where all the Talmidei Chachamim were sitting down, learning Torah together. And Rabbi Tarfon saw all of these rabbis arguing over halakha, debating the fine points of Torah. They're immersed in the give and take of Torah learning. Rabbi Akiva turned to Rabbi Tarfon and says, what do you think of this? Look at this beautiful orchard, this beautiful pardes that I planted for you. Rabbi Tarfon sees this and got upset. He goes, I'm upset. You've lost my money. Now, wait a second. Here's a Bet Midrash full of Talmidei Chachamim learning Torah, supported by Rabbi Tarfon's money. Torah scholars able to dedicate themselves to learning because of his generosity. And Rabbi Tarfon's first response is, you lost my money. I'm upset. What's going on over here? So we have to understand what Rabbi Tarfon's reaction really was. And in order to do that, we need to ask several questions that the Midrash seems to leave unanswered. Number one, what did Rabbi Akiva show Rabbi Tarfon that was new? Rabbi Tarfon was a great Talmid Chacham. Surely he knew every pasuk in Tehillim by heart, along with all the Torah. So what was the chidush in Rabbi Akiva's response? That they had to show him something that the Talmidei Chachamim learning. Second, how could Rabbi Tarfon say, you lost my money, when he was looking at a full Bet Midrash of Talmidei Chachamim? Did he really think the money was a loss? Isn't money given to Torah the best investment possible? The only thing that remains that we have at the end of our lives is the Torah and Masim Tovim that we have. So what was the real argument between these two rabbis? So here's the answer. Rabbi Akiva showed Rabbi Tarfon a great Bet Midrash that had been established with his money. But since mitzvot require kavanah, Rabbi Tarfon believed that he needed to have given the tzedakah with kavanah, with intent. And since he didn't have that specific intent, that specific kavanah, he thought he was investing in a business. Therefore, he didn't think it was going to a Bet Midrash. He felt the mitzvah was lost. So that's why he said, you lost my money. He was arguing, if you had told me that you were going to use my money to establish a Bet Midrash and a yeshiva, to support yeshiva and a kollel and talmidim, I would have given you my money, and that's what my kavanah would have been. I would have intended it for that purpose. Then I would have earned a mitzvah. But you didn't tell me that. And I didn't have a kavanah, so you lost my money. And that's a very powerful claim. Rabbi Tarfon is basically saying, I missed out on the mitzvah because I didn't have the proper kavanah. And without kavanah, even the greatest act of charity doesn't count. So this is where Rabbi Akiva opened up a Sefer Teilim and showed Rabbi Tarfon a pasuk. A pasuk, again, that Rabbi Tarfon for sure knew by heart, but the deeper meaning of the pasuk he was about to discover for the first time. The pasuk that says in Teilim Kuf Yud Bet, Pizar natan la'evyonim, tzidkato omedet la'ad. He scattered, he gave to the poor, his righteousness endures forever. Now, at first glance, the pasuk seems to contain a contradiction. Break down the words. Pizar means scattered. Something that fell from a person without their knowledge, something that dispersed unintentionally. Natan means he gave, when a person deliberately takes something in their hand and gives it. So the question is obvious. How can both contradictory descriptions appear in the same pasuk? Pizar Natan, he scattered and he gave? Which is it? Did it fall out accidentally, or did he give it deliberately? So Rabbi Akiva comes to teach us a wonderful yesod. While it's true that mitzvot require kavanah, tzedakah is different. Even when a person gives tzedakah without any intent whatsoever, they still fulfill the mitzvah completely. And that's the meaning of pizar natan la'evyonim. Even if it was pizar, even if the money scattered from him unintentionally, it's considered as natan la'evyonim, considered as he gave it. And therefore, tzidkato omedet la'ad, his righteousness endures forever. In fact, the Midrash in the Yakut Shimoni Parashat Kiteseh takes this principle even further, really to a place that you might seem to be unbelievable. Chachamim tell us that if a person loses a coin and a poor person finds it and uses it to buy food, it's written about who lost the money that they had the zechut of giving the tzedakah. Now think about what that means. You lose a coin or a dollar bill from the hole in your pocket. You have absolutely no idea where it went. You certainly didn't intend to give to tzedakah. You're probably annoyed that you lost money. And yet, if a person finds that coin, you receive the merit of having given tzedakah, despite complete absence of any kavanah on your part, which is similar to the story that happened in my school. Imagine someone with a hole in their pocket walking down the street without realizing, and several coins fall out. Poor person finds it, uses it to buy whatever they need for Shabbat, challah, wine, chicken, vegetables, and they make a beautiful Shabbat, full table. Now they sing Zemirot, they're making Kiddush, Ing Seudot, Onek Shabbat. You know what's going to happen? The person who lost that money, he's going to go to Olam Haba. The Malachim are going to tell him, do you remember when you came home and you discovered you lost all that money? Well, that money reached a poor person who bought all of his Sorche Shabbat, all of his Shabbat needs with it. You fulfilled the mitzvah of tzedakah, even though you didn't intend to give the money for tzedakah. And because that poor family was able to honor Shabbat with your money, all of the zechuyot of that entire family for that entire Shabbat is credited to you. The guy says, I didn't do it. I didn't even give tzedakah. I lost the money. And therefore the angels respond, it doesn't matter. Because when it comes to tzedakah, even if you don't have kavanah, the mitzvah still counts. And since the poor person merited to honor Shabbat with your money, all the merits, theirs and their family, are all credited to your account. And that's what happened with the student who found the $20 bill near the garbage can. You know, what a incredible zechut. If a non-Jew had found that money, the person who lost it would have gained nothing. The money would have been gone with nothing to show for it. But instead, somebody found it. It's a Yer Shamayim, a young student who's going to go use that money hopefully for holy purposes, maybe buy food and say a beracha, maybe donate it back to the school or give it to the poor. He'll eat and drink with kedusha, or perhaps he used to buy them for a mitzvah, buy a sefer. The one who lost the money merited, even though they were paying from the fact that it fell from their pocket, even though they had no intention of giving it away, and the money didn't go to waste, it went to tzedakah, and they fulfilled the mitzvah through it. And that's what David HaMelech meant. Pizar, his money scattered from him, fell from his pocket. A poor person came and found it. It's considered as Natan la'evyonim, tzidkato omedet la'ad, his righteousness endures forever. There's a lot of practical applications of this principle that we can really transform the way we think about money and tzedakah in our everyday lives. The next time you discover lost money, whether it fell from your pocket, whether you next time you discover that you've lost money, whether it fell from your pocket or you left change somewhere, whether you miscalculated your expenses, it's it's automatic for us to feel frustrated. But you have to pause for a moment and think, maybe this money will reach someone who needs it. Maybe a poor person will find it. Maybe it will go towards a mitzvah. And if so, I'm fulfilling tzedakah, even though I didn't intend to do so. That doesn't mean we should be careless with our money, but it means that when the loss does happen, we can find comfort in knowing that nothing in Hashem's world is wasted, that the money that seems lost might actually be accomplishing something far greater than we know. What about the other way around? When you find money, like the kid that found the $20 bill next to the garbage can, realize that you've been given a tremendous opportunity and responsibility. There's someone out there, without knowing it, is getting a zechut for tzedakah through you, assuming that you use that money wisely. If you use it for Torah, use it for mitzvot, for kedusha, because then you're not just benefiting yourself, you're completing the circle of tzedakah for the person who lost it. You're ensuring that the pizad becomes a natan, that their loss becomes a merit. It also allows us to see precisely how Hashem runs the world. Nothing happens by accident. That coin fell from your pocket. That bill slipped from your wallet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu orchestrated it to reach exactly the person who needed to find it at that moment. Person might think, I'm so careless. I lost money again. Hashem says, no. I'm giving you a zechut of tzedakah in a way that you never expected it. I'm teaching that I can fulfill mitzvot through you, even when you don't even realize it's happening. Think about a time in your life where you desperately needed money and somehow unexpectedly you found some. Maybe you discovered cash in an old jacket. Maybe someone paid back a loan that you'd forgotten about. Maybe you found a check that you never cashed. In that moment, you felt Hashem's providence. In that moment, you felt taken care of. Now realize someone else, maybe even without them knowing it, was a shaliach for your salvation. And they're getting credit in heaven for that tzedakah, even though they never consciously gave it. But we need to be very careful here. The fact that tzedakah works even without kavanah doesn't mean that kavanah doesn't matter. In fact, it's the opposite. The Midrash continues with a very powerful kal vachomer. Are these things not kal vachomer? If someone who didn't intend to earn merit and yet earned merit, it's written about them as if they earned merit, then someone who intends to earn merit and does earn merit, kal vachomer, all the more so. In other words, what the Midrash is saying, yes, tzedakah works even without kavanah, but how much greater is tzedakah when it is done with kavanah? How much more powerful and meaningful and transformative the tzedakah becomes. If you can get reward for tzedakah you didn't even know you were giving, imagine the reward of tzedakah that you gave deliberately and thoughtfully with full awareness of the mitzvah. If you're getting reward for unintentional merits, how much more so for the intentional ones? So that brings us back to where we started, the Teruma, the Mishkan. Rashi says, Veikhu li teruma, and they shall take for me a donation. What's it? Li lishmi, for my sake, requiring specific kavanah. The uniqueness of that requirement is that regular tzedakah, even without kavanah, accomplishes the mitzvah, but the Mishkan was different. The Mishkan was special, it was elevated, it was extraordinary. It was not just the act of giving, but it was the intention and the focus and the deliberate dedication, the Shem Shamayim. Why was it different? Because the Mishkan was where the Shekhinah would dwell. It demanded our hearts. It was just not about our resources and our money. It was about what we were thinking and our consciousness. It was our kavanah involved. Our rabbis teach us something beautiful about the nature of giving. In the Gemara Masechet Menachot, we find Ne'emar b'shora gadol ishereach nichoach. It says regarding a large ox offering, a fire offering of pleasing aroma. Uv'of hadak, and regarding a small bird offering, it says ishereach nichoach. U'bamincha ishereach nichoach. And even for a meal offering, it says the same words. In other words, what does the Gemara learn from here? Whether you give a big ox or something small like a meal offering, it's all the same, provided that they direct their heart towards heaven. The Midrash relates a story of a woman who brought a single handful of flour as a korban. The Kohen looked at it with disdain and said, look at what she's doing. What does she bring over here? What's there to eat from this? What's there to offer from this? And that night the Kohen had a dream. And in his dream he was told, do not despise her. She's a holy woman. And this korban is as if she brought her nefesh, as if she brought her soul. So Kal Vachomer, the Midrash learns, if a person who doesn't offer their nefesh is considered as if they offered their nefesh, then someone who actually brings their nefesh, Kal Vachomer. The importance is not in the donation itself, nor in the size, nor in the monetary value. It's in the quality of the giving. That should be pure from any ulterior motives and foreign interests. That should be entirely L'Shem Shamayim. How do we apply this to our daily lives? Well, many of us give tzedakah regularly, Baruch Hashem. Maybe we have a tzedakah box at home. Again, maybe we give to collectors who come to the Bet Knesset. Maybe we support organizations that we care about. But let me ask you, how often do we really stop to think about what we're doing? Maybe we should do the following. Once a week, let's say Friday, Erev Shabbat, when you're giving tzedakah anyways, as many people do, take an extra 30 seconds. Instead of dropping the coins in the tzedakah box, stop. Think about the mitzvah. Think about the poor person who will benefit. Think about the fact that you're fulfilling Hashem's will. Have kavanah. Yes, even your regular automatic tzedakah counts, like we learned. But imagine the difference when you add feeling and intention and focus and consciousness. Remember the Kal Vachomer, if unintentional tzedakah has such power, how much more so intentional tzedakah? And then we have situations that we've all been through. You're walking down the street or sitting in shul and someone approaches you and asks you for tzedakah. Maybe you're busy, maybe you're distracted, maybe you're not in the mood. The next time this happens, remember what we learned. You have an opportunity right in front of you to give tzedakah with kavanah. Non-unintentional kind, not the pizar kind, but the deliberate, the natan kind. And even if you can give a small amount, remember the woman with her handful of flour. Give it with your full heart. Look at the person. See them as B'Tselem Elokim. See them as an image of God. Think about the fact that Hashem put you in this path at that exact moment to give you the opportunity for a mitzvah. Whether that small coin or that small dollar bill or the $20 bill, give it with kavanah, with a smile and recognition of a mitzvah. Here's something that many successful people do. Once a month, they sit down and they review their finances, review their income, their expenses, their savings, their investments, basic financial responsibility. But how many of us include our tzedakah in the monthly review? Not just to make sure that we're giving enough, though that's important to do, but to really think about it, to see where our money went, to consider, did I give with kavanah? Did I miss opportunities? Where can I improve? Maybe you'll discover that sometimes you gave without thinking. That's okay, because it still counts. But you find moments sometimes where you could have given more consciously, more thoughtfully, more deliberately, more L'Shem Shamayim. What are the Chachamim telling us about over here? Why is tzedakah different than any other mitzvah? Why does tzedakah even work without kavanah? Tzedakah is about giving life to another person. When you give tzedakah, you're literally sustaining someone else's existence. You're enabling them to eat and to live and to survive. That's such a fundamental, essential act that Hashem says, I'm going to credit you even if you didn't consciously intend it. Because saving a life and supporting a life, that's so critical and so essential to Hashem's world that even when it happens accidentally, even when it happens without awareness, it still counts. Because at the end of the day, a person was helped, and a family was fed, a life was sustained, and that matters. It matters regardless of what your intention was. And this is a beautiful paradox, precisely because it works without kavanah. When you do give with kavanah, it becomes infinitely more precious. Because it's not about the result anymore. It's about the relationship. It's about you connecting with Hashem and with the poor person and with the mitzvah itself. Tzedakah without kavanah is like nutrition without taste. It nourishes, but it doesn't delight. Tzedakah with kavanah is like a gourmet meal. It nourishes and it elevates the entire experience. I want to close with a thought that should change the way that we all give or think about money from this moment forward. Right now in your pocket or in your wallet or in your bank account, you have money. Maybe a lot, maybe a little. That's not the point. The point is that money isn't just currency. It's potential. It's opportunity. It's a test and a gift all at once. And every dollar you have is a chance to do something extraordinary. And the amazing thing we learned today is that Hashem has made it so easy for us to succeed. Even if you lose money, even if it falls from your pocket, even if it reaches someone that you never expected to reach, but it did, you get the credit, even without trying, even without knowing. You can fulfill the mitzvah of tzedakah. But just imagine if you did it consciously. If every time we gave tzedakah, we really, really thought about it. We really focused on the mitzvah, on the person receiving it, on the fact that we're partners with Hashem in sustaining the world. The money doesn't change. A dollar is a dollar. A quarter is a quarter. Whether you give it kavanah or without kavanah. But the person giving it changes. The world changes it. The relationship with Hashem changes. And of course, the receiver changes. Rabbi Tarfon thought he lost all of his money, but Rabbi Akiva showed him nothing was lost. It was invested in the best possible way in Torah and Talmidei Chachamim in eternal matters. And even though he didn't have kavanah at the time, the mitzvah still counted. But then Rabbi Akiva had taught him something even deeper. Yes, it counted, but imagine you had the kavanah. Imagine if you had given this money deliberately, consciously, with full awareness of the incredible zechut you would be receiving. So that's a message for us. Yes, Hashem is so merciful that even our unintentional tzedakah counts. Even our lost money can become a merit. But why settle for that? Why not grab the opportunity to give with full consciousness, with full kavanah and joy? The next time you give tzedakah, whether it's 50 cents or a dollar to a collector or a substantial check to charity, take that extra moment. Feel the coin. Feel the check. Look at the person you're helping. Think about the mitzvah you're fulfilling. Connect with the moment. Because that's what pizar becomes natan. That's when scattered money becomes conscious giving. That's when tzedakah becomes not just an obligation, but a relationship. It's not just a mitzvah, but it's a connection with Hashem himself. That's when tzidkato omedet la'ad, your righteousness will truly endure forever, not just in the world to come, but right now, in this moment, in this world, in your heart. B'ezrat Hashem, Yiratzon, may Hashem bless us all to give tzedakah with joy and with kavanah. May we merit to see our money, whether given intentionally or even lost accidentally, helping others and bring beracha to the world. May we never lose sight of that incredible privilege we have to be partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, sustaining his world and taking care of his children. We merit to see how, with our own eyes, how pizar natan la'evyonim, how everything we've scattered, everything we've given becomes tzidkato omedet la'ad, righteousness that endures forever, bringing blessing to us, to those we help, and to all of Klal Yisrael. Amen. Ken Yiratzon. Have a wonderful night.